So we started with the podcast. We did a speaking engagement, a 3-day weekend in front of 60 women that also became our course content, which was really helpful for us. And we got a member out of it. So
Nice.
We have one member, right? I'm just trying to trust the process, right? Like it's a proven concept. And
if you can find one, you can find 101.
That's
okay?
Right. Like, okay,
yes.
Just believe you.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Flip Lifestyle Podcast. It is great to be back with you again today as I help another member of the Flip Lifestyle community take their online business and their online dream to the next level. And I'm excited to have Kylie Cross on the podcast today. Hi, Kylie.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Shane, I'm so excited to be here. I can't even believe that I'm here right now. So
well, I can believe it. I can see you. You're right there, right? I'm glad you're here too. I'm pumped. I'm excited. We're excited, but we're here to. This is about you, not me, and it's not about the audience. It's about. So we're gonna stay excited and enthusiastic, but we're gonna stay chill, and we're gonna stay chill as well. Okay. All right. Before we get started, Kylie, tell everybody a little bit more about you. Tell them about your background, like what brought you here, and then tell them about your online business you're trying to start.
So I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I have spent my whole life trying to keep it as small as possible, so I don't fail and just so afraid and just try and toe the line. And probably about 10 years ago, I hit my lowest low of just bitterness, resentment, just miserable in my marriage. Just what on earth am I doing? I cannot function this way, right? Like just all-time low. And God just started to really transform my life to just slowly figure out, like, girl, take responsibility for your life, be on court, and live. And just was able to completely transform my marriage and just my purpose in life. You know, I think that's what's been so challenging is when you live that small, there is no purpose and it just feels so empty and shame-filled and guilt and regret. So fast forward, you know, all of these things kind of started to change and I started overcoming all of these never say nevers. And I started homeschooling our kids, which was not on the radar. And then 2020 hit and that was crazy. And my husband has always been very business minded. He's an electrical engineer, typical engineer. I'm a typical extrovert. And so I see this feed in Facebook for Life Surge. And I love live music. I love going to do stuff. I like a good story. My husband loves based on true story, inspiration, underdog kind of stuff. And he had started his own company actually after 2020. And he was kind of in a slump in this entrepreneurial mind. I was like, well, you need some motivation and let's go have fun together. Did not know what I was getting into in Life Surge. I thought we were going for my husband and it was for me. I walked away that day, you know, I got to hear you speak and there were several other speakers and they had a time in the day where you could go sign up for those 4 extra classes, you know, the ongoing training.
Sure.
And we went to all 4 of those weekends. It was so exhausting in our life and just kind of blew our minds and transformed just the trajectory of what we were about and being able to really have a biblical mindset about our lives, about our money, about our business, the way that we function and our talents. You know, I walked away that day feeling like, okay, you can use it in money specifically. I felt like money is evil and money is wrong and money can cause harm. So if anything could be potentially harmful, have nothing to do with it. As opposed to walking away that day, I was like, oh, how about instead, God doesn't call it evil, but we do have to be mature. Willingness at that point to walk away saying, okay, I can do hard things and I am done fearing this part of my life, that it could go wrong. It could take me out. So let's not do it. And instead, how about I just learn how to handle it well?
I love that analogy of thinking small and don't do anything big enough that could hurt you or fail. Like, right. It's like my daughter has she's a gymnastics kid. She's an all-star elite cheerleader, right? So she's got all these things in the garage. She's got like hoops and silks and balance beams, right? Wow. But it's like we have a balance beam that's like on the floor, right? It's like 4 inches off the floor, right? But you're not going to go win Olympic gold 4 inches off the floor, people. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like if you keep it miniature, you're going to end up miserable. And like that's the problem. That's where you like found yourself. So what resonated with you about like my talk or like our event and like brought you into the Flip Lifestyle community? what was the shift there that was like, oh my gosh, there are people out there going after great things and doing these things. I can be one of those people.
Yeah, I think it helped leaving Life Surge with the parable of the talents and walking out of Life Surge feeling like I have totally been that one talent person that has buried my talent. And a few years prior, right, I think I kind of like dug my talent out, but it still was like tightly in my
your hand.
I hadn't done anything with it. Yeah.
For people not familiar with the story, what the parable of the talent says, it's a parable in the Bible. What it says is like a master was leaving and he gave 5 talents or coins or whatever you want to call it to one of his servants. He gave 2 to the other and then 1 to the other. And what happened was the person who had 5 went out and invested it and made 5 more. The person who had 2 went out and invested it and they made 2 more. The person who had 1 was scared they would fail. So they buried the talent and made nothing extra. And that was the person who got sent away. It wasn't the amount of success that got rewarded. You can succeed at different levels. It was the fact that you didn't use your talents, didn't use your gifts until it was too late. And then you got no prosperous for it. So that hit you like, oh my gosh, I'm the one burying the talent, basically.
Yeah. Like, what am I doing? So then when I went to your weekend course and got to see you guys live and like spark an idea in my mind, I was like, okay, this isn't even my talents. Like, this is God. Like, the master gave each of those people money. It wasn't even like their thing to risk. So God has clearly given me talent. He has given me a purpose. Like, what a better use to just let him double it then. Let me show up. Let me go do. So I was zero business minded, zero entrepreneurial minded. So much of it was just like going on faith that I know that I have overcome so many barriers in my life, so much bitterness and resentment. God had been preparing me for that moment to be in that place, like all the work that had come to prepare me to be here, but yet so still ill-equipped.
But you have to remember though, Kylie, like I tell people this all the time. I do think that the universe conspires for our good and God moves in God. We have God-given gifts, but at the end of the day, you have to put yourself in the right place to be in the right place at the right time. That's really our only duty with this one life that we have, is to keep putting ourselves in a good place. And you did that. So you were able to find that idea. You were able to take all those lessons and able to like go and use them. Yeah. It's like people have like a room, a cabinet full of ingredients. Well, the spaghetti ain't gonna make itself till you put it in the pot, people. Okay. So you have to be able to do that. So after Income Surge, or after our live seminar, like what did you decide to do? Tell everybody about your idea, tell them about your online business and all that good stuff.
Okay. So I've pivoted since then, but I walked away feeling committed. I was like, okay, I'm going to be a life coach. I got to figure out what that even means. Was willing to go through the blueprint, figure out like I just didn't even know the language. So kind of like with your analogy, I had to actually open the cupboard and get familiar with the ingredients. Like I wasn't ready to start making spaghetti yet. I still needed to understand what goes into spaghetti.
You're like, what's a noodle? Exactly. What is sauce? What is this sauce stuff? Literally.
Or like, I've actually been avoiding, like, I refuse to even know about sauce because that's what I felt, especially with technology. I have been deliberately, I am a geriatric millennial, as my younger sister calls me, because I have like actively and intentionally refused to stay on track.
That's that playing small mentality. It's like, well, I might not be able to figure that out. I better not even try. Right.
Yeah. So I walked away. Life starts feeling like, okay, I know I'm able. I'm willing to do hard things. I know I can learn. And just a complete belief that I can just trust the process. Like, I hear you that you're saying that it will work. Once I can put it into action, I can make it happen. So I left Life Surge ready to help other women that were just like me. They knew their problem. How can I help them get out of this small mind, this small, overprotective world that is full of resentment and bitterness? And so I started, my first company was called The Unimagined Life, because that's my favorite passage, Ephesians 3:20, that God can do immeasurably more than you can ask or imagine. And so this was like the biggest thing that I had taken on, of like beyond imaginable. Like, this was the biggest one so far. So feeling super excited and nervous, and just, I got to trust the process. And clearly God's got to make this work, because I know nothing. So I've never done anything out of my weakness more, right? So I hemmed and hawed, and it took a really long time. And my sister, okay, so we're 12 years apart. She had just recently moved to Texas, and she's the complete opposite of me in so many different ways. She's actually has an amazing home decor platform on Instagram called Within the Warm Walls. And so she's the opposite. She knows how to do stuff. She's making great money. She's very business minded. And so probably like 6 months in, I still was just dragging my feet on this lead magnet idea. And she's like, if I hear you say lead magnet one more time, I'm going to like clobber you.
So you have a blood sister relative that literally is the example of doing this. And you still were like, play small. Still, isn't that so funny, man? Like sometimes like people come in and they're like, I've never heard of anyone doing an online business before, but you're like, had someone right in front of you, and it still took the process. Like you say, it still took, you to be ready. It still took you to have to go out and do it and believe it and see it until you found us, basically.
So finally it became like 6 months in. So in December, she was ready to kind of, and she wants to be just as vulnerable as I do. Like, and there's so much that we're so alike. At the end of the day, we come from very different worlds. She's adopted. She's come from such a different kind of background that we're really, at the end of the day, we have the same core values and we have the same struggles. And so she came to me and she was like, okay, I'm willing to do a podcast. How about we do a podcast together? And I was like, all in. You're going to help me do this? Like, you're going to be my sidekick and we can do it together and have this, share our vision. Like, how do we bring it together? And so we actually switched. So we call it Beyond the Walls. And we started with a podcast, and we started in December and had a whole plan. And so she's really much more business minded. She's a hardcore type A, balancing each other out, right? Like, how can we still live our lives? I still have to be homeschooling and taking care of my kids. She has other jobs. How do we make this work? And so we help, women. So our elevator pitch is that women feel trapped by their circumstances, and we help women identify the mindsets that have led to their loss of freedom so they can experience a life they love that is beyond their circumstances. Mm-hmm. And so what is so amazing is how much like reach we can have that we've brought together of like, we're racially different. We're not blood relatives. We're 12 years apart. We have very different backgrounds, and yet have so much in common and can reach such a broader spectrum of women. And really,
the same things happen to all of us, whether we think that when we're in the thick of it. Yeah, it's a human issue, right? Like all the, what I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a whatever, and like the other dads and husbands are experiencing the same things, right? We think though, oh, why does this always happen to me and only me, right? We're special snowflakes. But I know, right? Seriously, how fast do we all go into victim mode? Totally. But like, what I would like real quick. I'm just going to comment on this because I'm looking at your website right now. Like many women feel the words that really stood out to me a second ago, though, where you were like, man, I was bitter, I was resentful. Gosh, I wish you would use that language, a little stronger language. This is a great elevator pitch, but it's not, we help you identify mindsets. Nobody wants to how about we help you overcome resentfulness, bitterness, and your loss of freedom so that you can experience the way they want, right? Because we want the problem, and then we want to pour a little salt in the wound. Yeah. And then we want the solution, right? So, because you guys, I mean, this is a joyous homepage, by the way. Like this is like just the pictures and everything are just like very joyful, Yeah. So it's really, really good. Okay. So that's the goal, is to help. So this, I assume, is a membership for women. Yeah. Are you particularly focusing on like moms and like people who are married, or like how niche down is the audience?
I forgot. Yeah. So that's even different. So she's single with no kids, and I'm married with children. So nice. I think really we're hitting like the 25 to 45 year range. And then we can also share from both ends, right? Like the struggle of singleness and married and parenting and business mind, like all of the things from both perspectives.
Even inside the membership, you can have different calls. Like, You could have like, she could do a call for the single
idea.
people and you could do the call for like married people. You know, it's fine.
I like that.
Like we have our men's and women's calls. You can separate those. All right. We've got your mission. We've got your purpose. We've got your idea. We're launched. We've got a we've got a website. We can click a button here and I can become a member. I can click and go check out on something. We've got a podcast that we're launching out in the world. So this is out. This is ready. Yeah. What's next? Like, what do you need help with to help you grow?
So we started with the podcast. We did a speaking engagement, a 3-day weekend in front of 60 women that also became our course content, which was really helpful for us. And we got a member out of it. So we have one member, right? I'm just trying to trust the process, right? Like it's a proven concept. And
if you can find one, you can find 101.
That's right. Like, okay, just believe you. And so really because of that muscle, right? Like, okay, the ingredients are out on the counter and we're finally ready to start cooking. Now we need to put the real blueprint back into process. So I know what I do know we need to do next is to really follow the advice about the email sequence, and really actually start marketing. Outside of Instagram and word of mouth is kind of the only effort we've really put into Instagram so far. Or into marketing.
How many podcasts do you have right now?
We have 25 live and we have 3 more in the hole.
Nice.
So in it, and that was going to be one of my questions too, like we have in our outro, it kind of talks about, like we offer coaching and you can subscribe to us, come to our website, and in our, like the explanation of the podcast. And then we post it like when we're on Instagram. So we're constantly telling people where you can find us, like go back to the website and go back to these. But we have about 25 in our email. We only have 25 email list right now.
Hold on. Now, if there were 25 people crammed in that room right now with you, you would not say there's only 25 people in the room.
It's true.
Okay. Did those 25 people come from that live event that you did?
Most of them. Actually, maybe almost half. We got a few from our podcast early on. And then we got a bunch from the speaking engagement. And then our coaching member is from our speaking engagement.
Mm-hmm.
So we do want to pitch and do more, but we don't necessarily want to just be full-time traveling speaking people.
No. But here's what we can look at. Okay. Success leaves clues. Okay. So whenever you get your first member, everybody who's listening to this podcast right now, you have to say, what were the circumstances that led to that member joining? Okay. So what happened was you went to an event that was filled with the avatar that you're with or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And then you were able to pass around the thing, get the emails and offer them whatever you did. How did you get their name and email? Did you offer them a freebie or anything?
We put up like a barcode that you could scan.
Okay, cool.
To sign up for the membership.
And you got one member. Now, did you do any follow-up after the event?
Outside of the few emails that we already had, no. So it was at a church that we know, like, so it also just feels like, oh, we know them and we know that they're there and we'll follow up with them at some point. But I would not. So that's where the email marketing is like dead in the water.
Yeah. See, that's the fortunes in the follow-up. Like I would bet I bet there's 25 people on the email list. I would bet if you sent an individual email and say, hey, let's talk for an hour, you could sell more memberships to this list right now because you got to follow up. Like follow-up is the key. So offers are great. Like you have to make an offer. Like you had 60 people. There was one member. Hey, if you can get one member every 60 people, go get 6,000 people. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's how you grow. So we got to figure that out. But I'm going to go back and even another layer.
Okay.
You got in front of a group of women that already existed.
Yeah.
How can you guys go get in front of more women's podcasts? Like, how can you reach out to women's podcasters who, like, your sister can go after the single type podcast. You can go after the married type podcast. You can bring people back to your podcast. You don't have to travel. You don't have to go anywhere, right? You can invite people onto your podcast to talk to women who lead other podcasts and like start building some relationships and start building some reciprocity in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also on your podcast, see, if you're going to do that, like get more people there, you don't really want to necessarily sell on your podcast. You want to offer lead magnets.
Okay.
Because you got it. The podcast, your other people's podcasts exist to put you in front of people that are already there. Yeah. Your podcast exists to build an audience and a relationship and to get people onto your list.
Okay.
so you need to be offering those lead magnets like your sister told you to do. Is that ready now? The lead magnet?
Well, so we were in the process. I just finished your ebook training. And so I just made our blueprint right now, like the outline, the template, that's the word. And we're going to use one of our courses. So I think right now we're in this space of, do we want to quickly finish the book and use the first chapter as the lead magnet? Or, I mean, we have tons of content and tons of material. It's kind of like lead magnet, emails, ebook, in that order is my thought that need to be done ASAP.
I mean, the lead magnet doesn't matter what it is. All it needs to be is you need to be able to say like, hey, would you like 3 steps to getting rid of bitterness this week in your life?
Yeah.
Go download our free resource on that today. Let's get rid of your bitterness. Right.
In the podcast, if we were to do that, is it important to say it within the conversation, not in the outro? Or is it just in the template, the description of the podcast?
No, you got to say it. They're listening. They're not going to read the description. I've never read a description to a podcast. I just hit play. Okay. I say it at the beginning, the middle, and the end. Okay. That way people who tune in at the beginning will hear it. The people who stay at the end will hear it to remind them to do it. You can just do beginning and end if you want to. You know, I always try to promote at the beginning and end of our show, and then sometimes in the middle. Okay. So that's one way to grow your email list. I would just make a simple lead magnet. It doesn't have to be the first chapter of a book like the first chapter of a book doesn't work either. People ask me this all the time, and I don't know why this is a thing. Like if I want to read a book, right, I'm going to be already looking for the book and then I'll find the sample. But if someone just walked up to me and was like, hey, do you want to read the first chapter of my book? I would probably not do that. Yeah. Like a lead magnet is a self-contained thing that can get people a result. Okay. Or at least give them moving toward a result. So you want to keep it really, it takes 1 hour. Just spend 1 hour, make something like a blog post almost, and they can download it and get it that way. That's how you can grow your list. But you got to get more people to hear your podcast. That's your real goal right now. Your goal, all this other stuff we're talking about is mechanics that you should be doing as an admin task on the back end of what you're doing. Nothing matters but people finding you at this point. You have something for sale. You have content. People have to find you. Yeah. Right.
So we have, I'm curious. So we started in December, January, February, March, April. So it's been almost 5 months. So we've had over 2,800 plays. Is that a good, we're like, I don't even know what to compare it to, but it's growth. So as long as it's growing, we're making progress.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think something like 50% of podcasts, I may be butchering this stat, but I'm pretty sure it's right in the ballpark. Like something like 50% of podcasts never get to download. It's something like if you're getting like 1,000 downloads or more, you're in the top, third of all podcasts or something like that. I don't know the exact numbers. I can't find it right now. Okay. But basically it's like once you're getting downloads here, it's just like if you can find one, you can find 101. Yeah. If you're doing a podcast, you're doing it consistently, and every week numbers seem to be going up, and you have multiple people listening. Well, there's more people out there begging for your content. You just got to get in front of them. Okay. So it's like it's like the same thing. It's like, yes, that's good. There's humans listening to you and tuning in. How do we get more humans? Like people stop there and they're like, okay, I've got these people. I got to convert every single one of these listeners. Nope. You need to go get 1,000 more of those people so that you have good stats on the other side of the equation. Yeah. So I think that what you guys need to do right now is like, okay, we've got to grow. Like, what are 3 strategies we can do to grow our podcast? Right. Yeah. Well, one we've already talked about because success leaves clues. You got in front of women who were interested in your thing, and you got a member out of that. So go find podcasts filled with listeners who are in that demographic. Who are those people? Right. Like go look up. You said that was at a church. Go look up Christian women podcasts. And go write down the top 100. Go type in Christian women's podcast and search and find 100 podcasts and reach out to them and say, hey, would you like to do a podcast swap? You come on ours, we'll come on yours. That's one way to do it.
How important is it that we like 100% line in somebody else's concept, like their stuff? Like, do we have to believe in all of the stuff that they're doing to participate? And how big of an audience do they need to have that makes it worth of our time? Like,
you don't get that choice right now because you're not big enough to make that choice right now.
Okay. So it doesn't matter.
You can definitely get more discriminatory. like of who you go on. Like I get lots of requests to be on podcasts, I turn some of them down, but it's not just like values and stuff. I don't even really look at that because like I don't have tests like that for people. I'm sure there would be lines if they showed up, but mostly it's more like, is this the kind of person that would join my membership? That's all I care about. That will usually filter it way better than anything else. Like I won these people wanted me to come on this podcast to talk to CPAs about something like entrepreneurs and taxes. And I'm like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. That doesn't make, are a bunch of CPAs listening to CPA accounting stuff really going to join my membership? Probably not, So I just look at the adjacent audience, but like, no, you can't do like value tests and rewards. But if you decide in Christian business podcast, you're a Christian audience is what you want. Like, so like that'll be enough, but then how far do you go?
Yeah.
And also in the beginning, you kind of got to say yes to anything. If someone's got 1,000 downloads a month, go get in front of 1,000 people. Like, some of those people will be more aligned with you than them.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I only use Spotify. So maybe Apple shows it, but like, how do I know how many downloads somebody else's podcast?
You don't. There's a thing called Listen Notes that purportedly tries to tell you that it's correct, but it's not. But like what I do is the main thing we look at is reviews. We want to see how many reviews they have, if they have any reviews. And then one of the other the things that I want to, if I'm going to go on a podcast, I want to make sure that podcast is probably going to be around for a while. So like, I really don't go on podcasts if they have less than for me, I don't go on podcasts that have like less than 200 episodes because I want to make sure that it's a consistent, steady, established podcast. For you, I would say if your probably number is anybody that has as many as you do. Okay. Because if you've got 25, they've got 25. Let's go. All right. Like we're in the same boat here because we got to connect with some people. Reviews is a decent indicator because not everybody leaves a review. Like we have hundreds of reviews for Flip Lifestyle Podcast. Hey, listeners, if you've not listened, go leave us a review for Flip Lifestyle Podcast. But like we have a bunch of reviews, but like, if you see somebody that's got 50 reviews, they're probably been around long enough, got enough of an audience. You can read the reviews too. You can kind of see, like, get a feel what the audience thinks about the show. So that's good as well. Yeah. Social media, why are you fixated on Instagram?
Well, because that's her world. So it's been a merge of like, that's what she knows. Like she's getting, she has like 75,000 followers on her home decor website and gets contracts like with companies. So that's just her frame. And so she's been transitioning. Like I'm trying to understand this membership-based business model myself. And then she's also like, it's a shift in a business mindset and style, like a different kind of business. So it's been a combination of just like, what's our natural skill set and where we are to then like really just.
Do you have money for ads? Do you have money for ads right now? Okay. But could you do some?
We could, if we want to keep spending more money. So we would like to bring in some money because we're still paying for Kajabi and Zoom. I mean, they're still petty, like small amounts, but.
Yeah, we got to get you to 20 members so you can pay ad spend. Yeah. I mean, there's only two ways to grow an audience. You can roll up your sleeves or you can open your wallet. There's only two ways. So you're in brute force mode right here is where you're at right now. Right. And then until you can get to the place where you can spend the money, you can work your way in or buy your way in. So I would say probably the best thing you could do right now is focus on guesting. I think you need to expand out your social media though. Instagram is not really, I have not found it's very conducive for podcasts because you can't click anything. There's all kinds of stuff you got to do. I mean, you can put I don't know. It's just Instagram has a weird feeling that doesn't really translate to podcasting. I think video does, like when you post, like we can post clips on like YouTube or Facebook and stuff like that to give us a little more discoverability. But social media expanding past Instagram, sharing in other places, that'll help for sure. Yeah. But honestly, man, you may just need to hump it up. Let's go. Let's go out and meet people. Let's kiss baby, shake hands. Let's get on other people's podcasts. Your most valuable thing you've got right now is you do have some people listening. You do have some stuff going on. Podcast swaps is probably a great thing for you guys, especially at people like that are close to your level, just to start getting your name out there more. Right. Yeah. That could be interesting. Also, too, like press was a big thing for me and Jocelyn in the beginning before we got a really big audience. Like we found ways that getting in articles and like getting featured in places like Forbes and Huffington Post and stuff like that. It helps once you do some podcasts and people hear your story. But but like getting some, like there's a thing, what's that thing called? Help a reporter out. Type that in, help a reporter out. But there's ways to figure out how to get in press and get ads featured on. And sometimes that can stir the pot. Like we got featured on one thing that over 1 million people read it.
Wow.
Yeah. So press is one of those things you can kind of brute force your way into.
Yeah.
Don't maybe going to a conference too, like going to a place that has like a lot of podcasters or a lot of women in your space at one time. I think you've got to lean into what worked, and that was getting in front of people.
Yeah.
But that brute force approach of just like, I'm going to connect and get in front of audiences that already exist. Facebook groups, look up women's trauma Facebook groups, women's playing mindset Facebook groups, like jump in there and try to participate. And then it's time. But while you're doing that parallel, you've got to set up this automation. You got to set up this follow-up, and you got to set up your sales processes too, because you need those 20 members so that you can get some money and maybe buy some ads so that you can start fueling the fire, you know?
Yeah. We are going to be on a guesting on a podcast next week. We're going to record. It's going to go out in June. So that'll help. But even it is a good awareness of like, okay, well, we got a member, we got people from the live speaking and being on podcasts. And just get the basic
hammer the nail.
Yeah.
Every time someone joins, you got to look at it and say, why did that happen? What just happened? And you can replicate that. Like going to a live event is the same. Like, for example, the thing you did was not go to a live event. You went to a place where someone else already had an audience and you got in front of that audience. That is what worked. Now, who was the audience? It was women. It was this. It was that. Okay. Where are those people online? Find them. That's what you have to do right now. And then you got to figure out how to get into those places, which is just a constant trial and error, you know? So is this like a full-blown partnership? Like, are you guys all in this? That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah.
Who would have thought you'd do it in business with your sister? You talk about playing big. That's going all in right there.
Big time. So. And it's, I mean, I'm so grateful for her to do this alongside of me. And like, we can just feel the spirit in the room shifts. One of us is like all of a sudden full of fear and the other one is pumped and ready to go. And so it is so helpful to like just be in it together and keep going, because it depends on the day of what's going to take us out, you know, like whatever fear or mindset is in the way that's going to stop us in the road to not keep going. Right. So we're committed. We're all in, and whatever that looks like.
That's why the community exists, because I was like, I had to build my first business all alone. Right. And I didn't have that like, oh gosh, I'm afraid today. That means I'm just going to quit, you know, like it's like. But now you got like a place, you got places to go where there's more people, there's other people kind of doing it, and it doesn't freak you out as much. All right, well, real quick, Kylie, before we go, tell everybody a little bit about, where your website is, and tell them your podcast name so they can go listen out there.
Yes.
If you are a lady looking to get rid of bitterness, resentfulness, and love your life, Kylie's going to tell you where to go.
Yes. So our podcast is called Beyond the Walls. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Google. And then you can come see us at beyondthewallspodcast.com is our website. And we are here to change mindsets and change lives.
All right, guys, that wraps up my interview with Kylie Cross, amazing Flip Lifestyle member who came in, you can hear, with a lot of fear. Like, we all have fears of things failing, but we don't know until we go. And look what happened. She had this amazing business that's been built now with her sister, this relationship that's going deeper. They got an opportunity. They got their first member. If you can find one, you can find 101, you can find 1,001. And now it's just a matter of rolling up her sleeves and getting after it and going out and building an audience of their own. Like this process that we see, whether it's people who are teaching people how to play guitar, me teaching people how to start an online business, Kylie helping women get their life back and stop being bitter and stop being resentful. Like, the process is the same for us all. And the first part of the process is to start. It's to take your idea, put it out in the world. Kylie never would have got this first member, never would have had an opportunity to get the members in the future if she didn't build the thing, put it online, and get out there and do what only she can do out in the marketplace. And that's what we want you guys to do too. If you're interested in starting an online business, making money online, and you need some help doing that, go over to fliplifestyle.com. We got a lot of amazing resources there to help you get started, and tune in every single week right here on the podcast. Hey, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and you've not left us a review, could you go do that right now? Could you just hit review, leave us a review, tell us what you love about the show, leave us that 5-star review over on Apple Podcasts or anywhere where you listen to your podcast, leave a review and give us a follow. We will be right back here next time to help you start, build, and grow an online business of your own. Until next time, get out there, take action, and do whatever it takes to flip your life. We'll see you then.